I've noticed a certain shift that has been rather strange to me. So I'm very much into the self-help stuff on YouTube and in the communities. And I've noticed this weird push towards philosophy, towards great literature, at least in my personal life. But I think not only in my personal life, but also in the wider community as a whole. And it's a bit strange, isn't it? Now, of course, I think it's fair to say that some big portion of nonfiction is very simply just like philosophy and concepts from literature extracted, simplified, bloated with a bunch of text, and then published. I do think that self-help has its place. I mean, I really like it, first and foremost. I think it's great. Also, it has a couple of advantages. You don't have to extract the information from the works. You can kind of just get it, and it's just plainly laid out. So it's simple, it's easy to understand. And of course, I think the primary benefit of self-help in the modern era is, of course, that it can have scientific backing, which of course would make it incredibly valuable. There is certain issues with nonfiction as of its format, as of its current format. You know, first and foremost, it tends to be very shallow, tends to be very bloated, tends to be useless, sadly. And even then, when it is useful, it's difficult to remember. You kind of have to actually sit down and memorize or learn it and use it. And the implementation of it is perhaps the hardest of all, where you can read something like Atomic Habits, great book, really difficult to get any use of it if you don't apply the principles within it. And so self-help has this like general shallowness with it. And this is a stark contrast to fiction, right? For fiction, at least, and philosophy, but fiction in particular, you get sort of a vehicle for the information, but the information itself you have to extract. And it's weird in that manner, because you can read a story and you'll just remember it. Like I read The Great Gatsby like 11 years ago. I still remember it. I read it once in literature class. And when it comes to nonfiction, brother, I've been reading a lot of nonfiction in the last 2 years, probably like 30, 40 books, which I think is relatively a lot. Probably half of them, I don't remember what was in it. I'll just be honest. I don't remember what was in it, and it was probably mostly useless and had no impact. And it's sort of also the danger of nonfiction, is that you can read it, you can understand it, you can see why it works, and you can feel really, really good by just reading it, but then the next day comes along and you've changed nothing at all. But for fiction, great fiction at least, you sort of get this story that's just automatically stuck in your mind, and it's just there. Not only that, but any type of change, any type of lessons, any type of structure that is easily discernible, you just can't help but change, which is unbelievable. I think this is one of the reasons why you see this move in the larger community of self-development towards great literature, is that you get the improvement immediately. You can't help it. Now, I don't think it's the driving factor, but I do think it matters, right? Self-improvement, by definition, is to improve oneself. And reading great stories with great people, and sometimes horrible people, can change you fundamentally immediately. And so I think it fits. So I think it just fits the bill, so to speak, rather well. I don't think that's the biggest factor. I think the real big factor of why there's such a push towards great literature and philosophy, I think is fundamentally its contrast to current modern self-help books, where in philosophy and in literature you get this depth, while often within self-development you have this shallowness. So this just huge contrast when you come across it. Like the first time you read something from Plato or something from Nietzsche, you go, oh shoot, like damn. There's a certain attraction to the depth of their works, right? Like if you read the Odysseus, there's a certain amount of thoughts and concepts and ideas that sort of underlies it, that just draws you in if you're looking for improvement, that if you're looking for self-mastery, if you're looking for a better life. I think this is the major factor, at least it was for me, this depth that I've been longing for. That I've been seeking. Now, admittedly, there's some glaring problems with literature and philosophy that we do gotta just air it out. A lot of it is boring. I said it. I did. I'm sorry. I've read a substantial amount compared to, well, I've read a little bit now, and a lot of it was boring. I'm just going to be honest with you. A lot of it was boring, tedious, and painful. I did not like it, like going through the process of reading it, but then in the aftermath, I was like, oh, that was a great book. And it also comes with a different problem that I kind of alluded to in the beginning, which is that, brother, you don't get the answer right away. And as somebody who's had no experience and no skills in terms of analyzing works in order to extract such information, brother, I'm left out naked in the winter. When I was in school and we did analysis of a text, it would be like, find the answer in the text. Then you look at the text and it says, here is the answer. 1 + 1 = 2. And then you just implement that into this box or into the paper, into the essay or whatever, and you're like, oh, look, see, I did analysis. But here, there is no such thing. And you're kind of just leaning back afterwards being like, wait, so what? What am I supposed to learn here? What is the ideas? What is the concepts? What is the arguments? What is this for? And so, being 28, learning about analysis for the first time, I felt a little bit caught with the pants down, as they say. I felt a little bit like, that was, God, damn. Having none of the skills required to really be able to maximally extract usefulness out of other people's work, and I just don't have the skills for that whatsoever. That's a little bit unfortunate. Now, there's a couple books that I have read that I would recommend. If you're kind of on the same journey as me and you're feeling the same thing, and you're like, where do you start? For philosophy, as an example, I read Merchides by Plato. I think it's, how you say Merchides? I thought it was great. Absolutely wonderful. Short little book, nothing, and it wasn't difficult to read at all. And the concepts behind it wasn't difficult at all. Although, in the sense of like I understood it relatively. I did have to look up an analysis of it because I was a little bit like, why is this dude not using the word balance, talking about temperance, right? But that's a story for another time. And I loved it, really. Although I will notice there is something important to note whenever you read philosophy. You will start contemplating a lot. Like, you'll start thinking a lot about these ideas. Like, I read the Merchides maybe like a year ago, and I'm not joking. Like, every 2-3 times, every single month, I've been thinking about that book. I'm like, what is temperance really? What does it mean? How does it contrast with moderation or balance, right? Like, and you're thinking about it continuously. Also read The Myth of Sisyphus. I read The Prince by Machiavelli. Quick little thing. All the French people, after this, we're gonna have a little conversation. I came across this book called The Philosophy of the Bedroom by Marquis de Sade, and we need to discuss punishments. Now for the classics, admittedly, I've done a little bit of like an oopsie with the classics. So I've read a handful. I've read The Jungle Book, Animal Farm, The Old Man and the Sea, Brave New World, and I'll be honest, I didn't like many of the classics I've read. Now, if you've read some of these, you might have noticed a little trend over here. A lot of them are very short. Like, I don't think I've read a classic that was beyond 200 pages so far. And I don't know, you look at like the Count of Monte Cristo, and you look at like Brothers Karamazov or War and Peace, or Peace and War, I forget. The Leo Tolstoy, the big Leo Tolstoy book. And I'm a little bit like, it's so big. And my experience with the classics so far has been a bit somewhat disappointing, except for one author, Dostoevsky, where I feel just my life didn't really improve after reading them, and I didn't feel like there was any great lessons to be learned and information to extract and kind of implement and things to contemplate about. It was just kind of like, I guess I read it now. Like I said, Dostoevsky was perhaps the shining star of all the classical literature that I've read. Particularly his Notes from the Underground and White Knight. Yeah, White Knights. Dude, those were amazing. Although very painful, admittedly. Like, I've never encountered this before in my life, because the characters will do things and act in ways that will make me lose my mind, and where I have to put away the book and just walk around, cuss a little, be like, ugh, what a dumbass, right? And I don't know if it's just me, especially when I read Notes from the Underground, it's just so painful to read. Maybe this is just like a common thing with his works, but it was a difficult one to chew through. And afterwards, I was so happy that I did it. And immediately afterwards, I just saw a huge change in my behavior and how I approach things. That feels at least that have been lasting. Now, if you have any recommendations for great literature from some great classics that are a little bit longer, any recommendation is very welcome. I'm kind of a lost sheep here when it comes to it, because I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to, like, what is it that I would really enjoy? I know I like self-help, obviously, but where is the works around it that sort of, where I can read a great literature and I can extract maximally useful thoughts, ideas, concepts. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed.